Good morning, everyone. Good morning, UTLA family, parents, and community members. Thank you for coming together in our virtual space today. We will be covering the all-important election next week and news that schools likely won't reopen until January and how we are moving forward from there. So let's kick things off with the election. We are in the final 5 days left, the home stretch. Let's get this done, folks. Let's win Proposition 15 and let's elect Scott Schmerelson and Patricia Castellanos. This year, LAUSD school board races have not only been the most expensive on record, they have also been the most negative. Outside spenders like Reed Hastings of Netflix and the Waltons of Walmart have now spent more to smear candidates in this year's school board races than in previous school board election cycles. We need to reach voters in these final days and counter the avalanche of attack ads. If you have not phone banked yet, sign up now. Yes, we are all tired. We are dealing with an unprecedented amount of work, testing, tech issues, teaching, working, and parenting from home. We honor that. But if we lose Proposition 15 and the school board, our situation will only get worse. These next 5 days will determine if we capture that $12 billion a year to help fill the huge hole in the state budget. These next 5 days will determine how high our class sizes will be and if we can avoid program cuts and layoffs. These next 5 days will determine if we have allies like Scott and Patty on the school board or face a pro-privatization majority that will weaponize the fiscal crisis to go after our schools, our jobs, and our healthcare. What you do in the next 5 days makes a difference. We're putting the sign up link for phone banking in the chat below, and I'm going to just let that sit there for a while to give you all some time to click and sign up. Thank you all for signing up. It can't be acknowledged enough. For most of us, this COVID pandemic is the toughest thing we have ever been through. One teacher shared on social media about her student who does her schooling from a supply closet of a mini market while her dad works and helps her at the same time. The pandemic is real. The economic struggles are real. Everyone is working harder and longer. There are no perfect choices. There is no quick solution. We are dealing with a life-threatening global pandemic that we have never experienced in our lifetime. That work is made so much harder when political ads attack us and come at educators. This week, groups funded by billionaire privatizers, including Parent Revolution, are running deceptive ads in the LA Times that falsify the number of instructional hours each day, implying that LA educators are not working hard enough. Can you believe that? It's false. In fact, we are working around the clock to deliver the best possible learning experience. We are offended by these lies, but not surprised. The privatizers are taking advantage of the pandemic to try to undermine educators and our connections with parents. It's cynical, it's offensive, and it's distracting us from the real work ahead, establishing the necessary health protocols to safely reopen schools. Given LA County's rising COVID infections, we believe the earliest possible date for a safe and academically sound physical return to schools is the beginning of the second semester, January 2021. We are gratified and grateful that this week, LAUSD School Board President Richard Vladevic and School Board Vice President Jackie Goldberg expressed support for not reopening until January 2021 at the earliest. They cited both safety concerns and the logistical difficulty of switching from online learning so close to the end of the fall semester. We must provide stability over reopening too soon and having to close again because of infection rates, as is happening in other school districts. LAUSD special education teacher Mushi Davis works with some of our highest needs kids, and she says a disruptive yo-yo effect of opening and closing would be extremely hard on her students with autism who live by structure and routine. Mushi says that as much as her students with disabilities need to go back to physical schools, they also need to be kept safe. And until that happens, her classroom community will continue working and learning together on Zoom. External pressure to reopen schools is increasing, even though the metrics don't support it, and the state and federal government have not given school districts the resources to do it safely. We have to recognize the most unparalleled challenges of physically reopening schools in the second largest school district in the country, serving more than 600,000 students in communities of color disproportionately devastated by COVID-19. The primary driver in reopening schools for UTLA continues to be safety, not misguided outside political pressure. We know that opening campuses during a widespread and substantial level of COVID-19 risk in the community creates greater risk for our schools. We can't let our guard down with this virus. It's true that children get the virus less, but most of the children who have died of COVID-19 have been Black and Latino. When people say reopen schools no matter what, whose children are they willing to sacrifice? On-site services are underway for some of our most in-need students, following UTLA and LAUSD's agreement last month on tutoring and one-on-one assessments for struggling learners and special education students. Additionally, we just reached another voluntary service agreement allowing members to provide limited designated instruction and services, DIS, services to high-need students on a voluntary basis in a safe setting. Bargaining on the safe reopening of schools has started, but again, a physical return is not imminent and is very unlikely to happen any earlier than the second semester. We are focusing on how to implement consistent and uniform safety protocols at all schools, including a comprehensive COVID-19 testing and tracing program and effective hybrid models for daily in-person instruction, accessible to all students. We will also fight for members and students who need to continue working remotely because of high-risk health factors. And a quick mention of our LAUSD employee health care, because I know some of you have been asking about that. Bargaining with LAUSD on our health care is beginning. In this time when health insurance is more critical than ever, we are pushing for continued coverage with no changes. We will keep you updated on our progress. As has been the case since the start, we will be guided by science in our bargaining. On Thursday, which was yesterday, we ran a Facebook Live session that did a deeper dive into some of that science. We had a great panel with public health expert Laura Curry from the CTA, Dr. Bob Harrison from the Occupational and Environmental Medicine Department at UCSF, LAUSD parent Carla Garcia, and Arlene Inoue, the chair of our UTLA bargaining team, which is working so hard at the table on health and safety protocols. I hope you have a chance to watch it. It's available on our Facebook page. We'll put the link in the chat below, and a Spanish language version should be up soon. The experts help make sense of COVID-19 trends we are seeing as we enter the annual cold and flu season. And they talk about the layered defense that needs to be in place to safely reopen schools. When it comes to children and COVID-19, there's lots of misleading info out there. Dr. Harrison shares the latest of what we know, including differing impacts on older and younger children and the rising test positivity rates in children in California. Palms Elementary parent Carla Garcia shares some of the highs and lows she and her fourth grader have been through with distance learning. Carla says all the sacrifice by parents and families would be worthless if we went back to school too soon. Carla gives a big shout out to the dedicated teachers at Palms Elementary and the culture of care they have created in her son's classrooms. One teacher recently had a tech-free learning week to give kids a break from screen time, and her son loved it. We see you, Palms Elementary, and the creative work you are doing to make distance learning effective. Once again, I hope you all can watch this Facebook Live segment. We'll be doing more of these science-focused programs in the coming weeks. If there's a topic you'd like us to talk to the experts about, please put it in the chat below. Now, I want to uplift the great virtual visits I had this week with schools. I met with the staff at Gompers Middle School and University Pathways Medical Magnet, and we talked about how things were going. Gompers Chapter Chair Jose Gonzalez expressed what the staff has been feeling and the sense of the overwhelming weight of crisis distance learning. Pathways site leader Monica Hernandez is juggling her duties as testing coordinator. Rebecca spoke of classes still being toyed with, not providing the students with that needed consistency. I met with PFA, psychological first aid, specifically for Black and African American students. I want to uplift our mental health folks like Dr. Kimani Norrington Sands, Dana Brown, and others using research-based frameworks for our babies. At 107th Street School, Chapter Chair Jacqueline Parasol says she is learning as she goes with crisis distance learning, something we can all relate to. Sonia Williams says she's thankful for our union, which has afforded us the opportunity to teach from home when other educators around the nation were forced back to unsafe conditions. They also expressed the urgency that all PLAS schools should be phone banking for Patty Castellanos. Patty's opponent has a not great reputation at PLAS schools. Get on those phones, PLAS schools. I also had a great meeting with the CSPP, the California State Preschool Program teachers, and we talked about specific needs and challenges of their special program. We will meet again next Wednesday, November 4th at 3 p.m. Shout out goes to Miss Thornton, Giovanni's teacher, for organizing a Halloween candy pickup at the school yesterday. The kids wore their costumes. Giovanni was a Ghostbusters, you know, from the Stranger Things series. He loves Dustin. And got to take a socially distant photo with her. This was the first time they met her in person. Thank you for bringing some normalcy to our kiddos. And something important for LAUSD parents out there, we are hearing reports of families being pressured to pay a replacement fee when computers break down, even when it's not established that the student or family did anything wrong. It is our understanding that if your child attends an LAUSD school, you do not owe anything for an unintentionally damaged laptop, tablet, or hotspot provided by the district. Computers are essential learning tools, and families must be held harmless for inadvertent damage. We are following up with the district on this. So we've talked about the election being only 5 days away. Millions of people have already voted, shattering records. Those votes and the ones coming after are under the threat by Trump, who continues to signal that he may try to steal the election, whether it's through legal mechanisms, voter suppression, or simply stopping the count of mail-in ballots. Trump was on Twitter again this week, slamming mail-in voting and demanding a final count on November 3rd, which would disenfranchise millions of mail-in voters. Twitter slapped a warning on his factually inaccurate tweet. No one knows for sure what Trump and the Republican Party will end up doing, but we must be prepared to take action. UTLA is joining a broad coalition of more than 50 community and labor groups to organize against this threat. On Saturday, November 7th, we will march to defend each other and demand democracy. Check out the event Facebook page for more info. And we'll put a link in the chat below. UTLA chapters, please hold a meeting to talk about this threat and plan to rise up and resist. Also, we have to run up the score in California. The more we run up the score, the more politically difficult it will be for Trump and the right wing to challenge the results. We run up the score by voting. We run up the score by campaigning for Prop 15 and the school board, because those votes will overwhelmingly be Biden-Harris votes. Once again, sign up to Phone Bank and get out the vote at lateacherschoice.org. I'll close out today by giving some love to our amazing Dodgers. Finally, they are World Series champions again. Our 32-year drought is over. And this comes after the Lakers win. What a boost for LA right now to score back-to-back championships. For many of us, our status as lifelong sports fans is cemented during bonding time with our fathers and mothers as we're growing up. That was true for me and my dad. My dad, Cecil, is no longer with us, but I know he would be so happy about the amazing year LA sports has had. He'd have his fist in the air singing, "I love LA." I miss you, Daddy. Until next time, be well. Take some time for yourselves. You are all truly amazing. Let's stay UTLA strong because together we rise.